to TGATB. My name is Laurel, and today we're continuing the homeschool library tour, and we're going to talk about the history section. Okay, let's just take a look at the bookshelf. So over here in this section, this is actually my youngest two sons. This is just their current stuff that we're using on a daily basis. But up here is where I keep a lot of our history goodies. And the shelf, you can't see it, it's right above it, is a bunch of readers that go along with it. So let me just show you what I have. Some of it I've used, some of it we haven't used yet. Some of it I've bought, some of it I've made. So let's get into it. Okay, so right here, these are just my McGuffey readers, just because I wanted them to be close to where I keep my younger two stuff. Because we're always like, I'm always grabbing them McGuffey readers, or like when they get on to the next level, we're switching them out. So I've got the revised editions and the original editions. And I will link to my McGuffey reader program videos in the description box if you haven't seen those and you love the McGuffies as much as I do. Okay, so you see this set right here. I think it's a pretty popular set for people to have. But these two are high school level. They're for biology and chemistry, the everything you need to know. This is the complete middle school study guide for history. I just like this book. I just like to have it on hand. It's really affordable. My kid, my oldest, he likes, we feel like we mostly use the English one, I think the most so far. But really, you could use this set as the base to like a full curriculum, and it would be like so affordable. Because you can get these used. Go to Amazon. Always check the used books, the used options on Amazon to save some money. But yeah, I do like this American history notebook. So it has, you know, chapters covering certain topics, and then there's always there's actually a quiz that you can use at the end of every chapter to check your knowledge. And right now, we just pull these out, like if we have a question or as we come to stuff, or like when we're doing our normal history curriculum, I just use these to pull out to kind of cross-reference. I'm like, well, let's see what they said about this topic and see if there's any differences or what was the same. I just like to be in the habit with the kids of teaching them to cross-reference their sources. And I just like the style. It's very kid-friendly. Lots of information, but also like attractive, and it's just not too big of a book. It's just like, there's something I'm like, you know, tactile about books. This is like just the right size to easily grab, and that it's like comfortable to use. So this is random. This is cotton. So we moved to South Carolina 5 years ago, and some plantation cotton. Oh, it's Brattonsville, which is very close to us. So we have this just so we can reference when we have little history lessons, obviously talking about cotton in the South is part of our country's history, so we just have a little sample. This is totally random, but I believe that this is a Civil War era cannonball. So my husband's grandfather was originally from Kentucky, and he picked this up out of a field and brought it to Oregon with him at some point in his life, and somehow my husband ended up with it. But I believe the story is believed to be a Civil War cannonball. You would not want to be hit with this. It's pretty heavy. I'm sure it's like lead or something. Anyways, I actually have it under like one of those little dome glass things with like some fake moss things. I was trying to recreate that it was like found in a field. I don't know, but this has been in the family for a long time. Anyways, I had to like hide it because the kids kept getting it down, and you don't want this to be dropped on your foot. It's like a shot put. All right, anyways, I just thought I'd randomly show you guys that, because I do show it in lessons when we talk about how brutal the Civil War was, and just war in general, right? And getting the odds and ends out of the way before the books, I guess. I did also buy a set of, I'll link them for you, these little like heads. Is this Jefferson? Yeah, this is Jefferson. It says the names on the bottom. But I just have a little set over here, and every once in a while if we're talking, if a certain president comes up, I'll grab them out. Here's Washington. The kids actually really like these. This is a set of A History of the English-Speaking Peoples, written by Winston Churchill back in the day. Titles are Birth of Britain, The New World, The Age of Revolution, and The Great Democracy. So I think some other YouTuber was using these as the base of her history, some history curriculum she was doing, and I just bought them on impulse. But I have not read them. But I do own them, and they are here. And I think I kind of did some research on, like, what do historians think about them at the time. And so Churchill was not a historian, but he was a patriotic Brit, and it's from his point of view, and it does have a lot of history, and it's his point of view, right? So I think that's valuable because he's a very influential historical figure. So anyways, I have that set, and I'll probably, I mean, it's always like my plan, it's always my like goal to read everything I have in the library too, but you can't read everything at once. So I probably won't even end up reading these until, let's be honest, I'll probably read them with my oldest whenever we get to them. Oh, I guess I thought this was kind of social studies related, all about money. And it is a Thinking Tree notebook. And I want to say we started doing this a while back. And I was just having a hard time getting the kids to, I think there were some books that you go along with it. You can see we did, like my oldest did some stuff in there. But I think I thought maybe I would just come back to it. I think I was just having a hard time with the younger two being really young, and I just was having a hard time making it work with the age groups that I had. But I still have it on the shelf. We just shelved it, and I plan on doing it later, or having, at this point my oldest is probably old enough to do it without me. I could probably just give this to him and have him do it. So all about money, business, economics. It's a really good introduction to taxes, how did we get the coins that we have and stuff like that, to macroeconomics, microeconomics, production, producer, consumer, supplier, the components of production, socialism, the history of socialism. So they don't necessarily tell you the history, but you're supposed to find out for yourself a notebook about it. Hard times, the Great Depression, the economy. So I like that. I actually like resources. I prefer resources that, like this, that prompt them to do the research on their own and don't just give them an end product. You know what I mean? Because, they say what children have to, what they dig for, on their own, is theirs, right? They hold on to it, which is true. Like, that's why the value of, I still to this day remember all these details about things that I had to write research papers on. I remember that far, far, far better than I remember what my teachers or my professors just told me. I don't remember as much as that. I remember what I had to discover on my own and write about, put into process and synthesize and put into my own product, right? So I like that idea. So that's why I love notebooking and things like that. This book is called We Hold These Truths, and I want to say this came I got a pack of books. It's called like Uncle Joe's. I'll find it. I'll link it for you because I bought a bunch of books at one time that came together. It was like a selection. So We Hold These Truths is historic documents, essays, and speeches in American government, edited by Ray Notgrass and John Notgrass. It's a nice book. I like that it's a hardcover. I like that there's pictures in color, like actual photographs of our historical documents. And it's not too big. It's not too much stuff to go through. The Rise of Absolutism, Women Rejoice at Glad Tidings, A Daily Gate City and Constitution, Democrat 1920. So suffrage. So it's all these speeches. So like this is a speecher. This is a speech that a mayor in Atlanta gave. And it's like his actual speech. Here's a picture of him. So it goes from, all the way from the preamble to like modern times. So it's covering a lot. So it's just a nice selection for them to read for different stuff. So anyways, that's there. That's on the shelf. This is tracing paper. I'll explain in just one moment. Okay. These are notebooks I made, and I just printed them out. They actually just went live on Amazon. You can buy these like printed and bound for you. But I call the series Moments in History notebook. So there's ancient times, the Middle Ages, early modern times, and modern times. Okay, so what these are, this is how you can like easily build a history curriculum on your own for super cheap. I'll link the Etsy store ones and the Amazon ones, but each book, my Etsy products always come with a little bit more. They come out with some, so I have some bookmarks that come with it. It says read me. And they're nice and blank so that as kids are reading, they can jot down notes or like dates, names, things like that they want to come back to. And I just print those on cardstock. And then I had some like labels. Again, I printed these on cardstock so that the kids could cut them out and tape them into their notebook. And then this is like, you can make like an envelope, you know, like kind of like an interactive notebook or a lap book. You can glue it in, and then there's like another page. You can cut out little cards and put whatever you want to and put them in the envelope. But anyways, I like to do this. I like to put things in, just like pre-print them, cut them out, and put them in an envelope that I glue to the back of my book so that they just have them. But what is in them is, right, like a how-to section. It just explains that you pick a time frame, you know, prehistory, ancient history, Middle Ages, early modern or modern times, and pick a history spine book. A history spine could be anything. It could be something like this, right? This American history. It could be something like this, which is a DK history book. It's like from the dawn of civilization to present day. You can use this and just use all the timelines and stuff in here. Right, so some kind of spine. And then pick as many living books as you'd like to read that fall within your time frame. So for us, we read a lot of these. These are my G.A. Henty historical novels collection. So let's say, you know, we're covering ancient history, so I've got my spines, maybe I've got my DK, you know, history book, and then like a living book like the Cat of Bubastes, which is nice. I bought all of mine because I wanted a matching set from Robinson Books. I will link them in the description box. They were very reasonable. You don't have to get the whole entire giant collection. They have different like lots that you can pick from, or you can buy them individually, but it's cheaper to buy them. The more in bulk you buy them, the more discounted each book is. And almost, I mean, you can, I have not so far, I mean, I found for all the books, G.A. Henty books that we've read, I've been able to find YouTube like free audiobooks because they're in the public domain. So people have made audiobooks, which make these really great. I'd say these are like middle school age and up reading level. And they're good length. But you know, putting historical events and cultures into like a story form, just really, our brains just hold on to stories. So I love that element. Anyway, so if you're covering a certain period, you may want to have, you know, multiple books to read if you're going to take a certain amount of time, however long you want to take. Make a chronological, pick a dozen or so people or events to notebook on, right? So I would pick those out of your spine. Whatever your spine highlights, that, like, I would pick some of those to notebook on, because it's what you have information on. And it's what some historian or some author has thought was more relevant. So use your own discretion. Make a chronological list of these notebook focal points. So I give some lines here. So you write your spine, write your living books, right? Then write some kind of chronological list of the events, people, highlights, discoveries, inventions, whatever it is that you want to highlight here. And this isn't hard because it's all basically done for you in your spine book. Then make a reading and notebooking plan. So you're going to decide how long your kid's going to cover this, or even you. I was actually thinking about just going through and doing these myself because, like, I just like history. I like learning, I like notebooking and stuff like that. But you're going to have to see how long do I want for this to take. So how many notebooking pages do we want to cover, or how many events and what kind of time. Kind of make a reading plan. You know, like if you want them to read the Cat of Bubastes in 1 month or 3 weeks, you know, just figure out how many pages they need to read a day and stuff like that, and just make a reading plan. It's good to have. You can always write that on one of those bookmarks so that they have the reading plan, you know, and they can check off as they go to make sure they're staying on track. So make a reading and notebooking plan, perhaps spine reading followed by a living book, then referencing the spine again before the notebooking day, right? Just whatever you want to do. And start studying and notebooking, or you could just hand them books and stuff and let them figure it out. But I always find that a little bit of structure goes a long way for kids. There's so much wasted energy, mental energy, time. They're like, I don't know what to do. Anyway, so what's in here is, you know, you're working out your how-to part. There's always there's a table of contents, so as they start filling in the pages, they can write what, you know, page number and what they were notebooking on. Then I kind of split it into 3 kind of forms in here. I want it to be simple. So the beginning of the notebooks look like this. Right, so there's like a notebooking page, so they could write like the person, the event, the invention, the discovery, whatever it was they want to put up there. Maybe they just want to talk about a place, like, you know, Indus Valley. Then maybe they want to write that and, you know, do a map, picture, and some details, kind of familiarizing themselves with the region that they're studying. Then there's like a timeline section, so on the page here. So I wanted them to be able to have like an event or something they're highlighting, but then nestle it into a timeline, right? So there's 5 spots here. So it's like maybe you can decide if you're doing decades or centuries or whatever. With the ancient history, you're probably doing more like centuries. And then I did give like a book of centuries type section at the back. Right, so this is 6,000 to 5,001 BC. So they could make a book of centuries for their section, for their time period, and then it goes up to, ancient history goes to 400 to 499 AD. Here's the cutouts. I just put them straight in, so they could just cut these out of the back. So they wanted to talk about like numerous people in a certain event. Maybe they wanted to do some battle or war or conflict, so maybe they did one of those little envelopes, and then they did a card for all the major players, you know, or groups. Maybe you want to talk about who was coming over to settle the New World, and so maybe said New World settlers, and maybe they did a little card for every, like the Pilgrims, right? So the Puritans, the strangers, you know, the Spanish, I don't know, any group that they would want to maybe make a card on. So I wanted to be able to do that. Anyways, so far I have those 4 eras. That's what that is. That's all that to say that. But the tracing paper is because I wanted them to be able to find images they really liked and that they wanted to include in their notebook. And I want them just to be able to put some tracing paper over it and like trace it and just really study it and spend some time on it. I mean, they could just try to draw it, but I thought there might be times that they want to trace. I mean, they can print things out and then like cut it and glue it in, but I just think that there's something about tracing and drawing that makes them pay attention to the details and makes them ponder over things a little longer. So I'm kind of steering them in that direction. This is a recent purchase, the Humanitas, the American Republic, books 1 and 2, essential readings for the study of history. So this is like a high school level, and so the first one covers Founding Fathers to Westward Expansion, and this one is the Civil War and Reconstruction. So I wanted these, haven't read them yet, but I plan on reading these before Everett starts, like 9th grade, you know, because once we get through our current history curriculum, we should be ready to go into high school, and here's a high school level history. Okay, so what we have been doing for history is the good and the beautiful. We're currently on year 2, and what I do like about this is that you can use it for multiple grades, just do everyone together, and it does have like it comes with little activities and things you can pull out. It has an audio component to it where we listen every once in a while, and this is very open and go. It just tells you just start reading and it tells you what activities to have them do, or if there's like an audio to listen to that day. So there's no prep for it at all, which I love. And I printed out the notebooking pages that came with it and just put them in these, I love these folders. I've used them for like multiple things because you can just like put whatever you want to into them. And then there's different levels. There's like this is grades 7 to 9, and there's like a high school level too. And then there's also grades, Williams is the 1 to 3. So it comes in different grade ranges. You just print the one that works for your kids and you do them together. But there's stuff like, there's maps in here. There's coloring pages. There's things that they write in. I kind of didn't feel like these, I don't know. I guess I like them, but I just didn't feel like, I don't feel like the kids are really retaining much from doing them. What I actually feel that makes them retain the most is the games that come with that you can get with them. So like here's one from the first year. The game that came with it was Keys of History. It's just a really simple game. The cards that come with it are just beautiful. And you can keep playing these even after year 1, right? To keep reviewing. But it has different like historical moments and people. And so somebody has to be the reader. So usually I'm the reader, I'm letting them play. And so I will read, each year we honor St. Patrick on blank, which was the day of St. Patrick's death. This holiday is known as St. Patrick's Day. So they're trying to fill in whatever is in red. They're trying to fill in the blank. But repeatedly playing this, they memorize the answers. It's kind of neat. So yeah, and I just like Joan of Arc. I love the artwork on them. I mean, it really is a beautiful curriculum. Anyway, so I love the games that come with it. I do think they learn a lot for them. I kind of feel like we've been using the notebooking pages because we have them. I'm almost thinking of swapping them out for my own notebooks because I'd rather have them notebook about what was interesting to them, or that, I don't know. So you could, yeah, anyways, you usually want to have some kind of writing component so you have proof. So you have like work samples and stuff. So sometimes I feel like that's what this is. I feel like it's kind of just busy work, and I don't feel like it really helps. I just don't feel like my kids have really retained that much from doing it. Maybe as they get older, I haven't done like the high school level notebooks with them. Maybe there's more writing, and that would cause more thinking. But they are really great spines. Yeah, I heard, so I've been hearing for a while that they are redoing their history curriculum. I'm not sure why or what the changes will be. But I think these would be great spines to use as well. They go through like all of history. It starts from like ancient all the way up to modern times in each level, but they touch on different areas and different events. So you're kind of covering the gamut, which some people, I've watched lots of YouTube reviews. Some people really don't like it, and some people do. I do, I like it, so I have no problem with it. Okay, so yeah, I have all those books, so, and they all come with, I think they call these, you know, they have like some kind of maps and images usually, something else that they can refer you to, so they just have really great visuals. I just think they're great things to have on your shelf. They're really good quality, and like, I don't know, I just think they're good to have. And they're really, I think they're reasonably priced. That's one we currently have, so I haven't pulled to the front. These are all the other ones. We also have, I have this other set, another, again, high school level, the Humanitas American Origins Book 1, Indigenous Americans to the Colonies. Right. And then book 2 for that course was American Origins, Enlightenment to Revolution. Again, so I haven't used them, but I'll put links to these. These are, this is Classical Academic Press, who does the Humanitas. So I'll link to them so you can check them out more, since I haven't Maybe I'll try to see. I'll see if anyone's done a review yet. Check the description box. If I can find a review video, I'll put it down there. I haven't used them yet, but I plan to. See up here. I have a bunch of like readers. I'm just gonna pull some down and show them to you. Okay, honestly, this book I got recently out of one of those little free libraries. But it's North Carolina Parade: Stories of History and People. We're in South Carolina, but we're like right on the border. My husband works in Charlotte. But yes, I was like, I guarantee it was some other homeschooler that put this in the free library. But I was like, oh yeah, listen, when we want to learn something about, you know, more of our local history. Somebody already put something in there for me for free. Thank you very much. Stories of History and People. Anyways, I'll probably just assign this into, you know how this is what I love RC for, is that they're always reading something, and so I can just insert this into the reading list. So it looks like it doesn't look like a very difficult read. I'm sure I'm maybe like 5th grade, they could start reading that, I would think. I've got some Who Was George Washington. We love these Who Was books. And Who Was Thomas Jefferson. I love these, they're just quick reads. And at some point, I remember, for some reason, I don't remember why, but I remember I bought this for Everett, this little set for his birthday or something. It's The Way to Wealth by Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin's Book of Virtues. And George Washington's Rules of Civility and Decent Behavior in Company and Conversation. So we read these a while back. We read the first 4, and then I recently bought, I think this was the newer ones. I think we haven't read The Presidency, Rush Revere. We love the Rush Revere books. Like, we read these to the kids just for like a bedtime story like a couple years back. They loved them. All the ages did. How old were they at the time? They would have been like 5. I think Bo was like a baby, but Will was, I think, 5, and so Everett would have been like 9. Oh, they absolutely loved this. It was super fun. And, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with the Rush Revere books, but Rush Revere, he's got a magic talking horse named Liberty, and they can jump back in time. And so they jump back with like students into, you know, American history moments, and they talk about real historical figures. And even see how like the brain holds on to stories. Like, I actually remember history facts from reading these Rush Revere books to the kids. I was like, well, remember in Rush Revere when they were back on the Mayflower, like they were talking to William Bradford or whoever it was. Yeah, so these are great, and they have a website for these. You can actually get study guides to go along with these. So I think these are actually, we read them just for fun, but these would actually be a great like history curriculum for like elementary, maybe high elementary, middle school. Super fun. Oh, and then they did come out with this new one. I haven't read this one yet because it came out after. So, The Good and the Beautiful history. Again, I'm not sure. They're making changes to their history program, and I'm pretty sure that they are not going to be distributing the so books that were like, I think in the public domain, like maybe they're old enough, or maybe they got the rights to certain books that they reprinted. They are no longer going to, they're only going to basically promote the ones that they've written. Yeah, they're only going to be writing their own readers now. And so I think that's a downgrade to their curriculum, because I go with like Art Robinson, what he says about like, you want to be able to pick from the best literature out there, all of it, not just what a certain creator is putting out or a curriculum, so that you have to buy their books. It may not be as good as when you have like all of literature to pick from. So I don't like that, but I have the original readers that came with every, like, I don't think they're gonna, like, this is a really well-known Boy of the Pyramids. It's a good little story to go along with, you know, ancient Egypt. And I think this is one of the ones, like, they're discontinuing it. They're not going to sell it anymore. So that's a shame. Anyways, but I have a bunch of their readers. The Mooring Tree, 3 Gold Doubloons. This is about Revolutionary War stuff. The Saracen Steed. That was a good one. We actually all liked I liked this one a lot. Falcon of Eric the Red. Slave Boy in Judea. Oh, Fu and Ching. Edith Cavell. The Winged Watchman. Race for the Prairie. Black Hawk. Through the Wall. Yeah, this one was about the Cold War in Germany. The Sign of the Anchor. Ink on His Fingers. Escape to Freedom. And Rocket Genius. Okay. So those were the readers I have for the Good and the Beautiful program. I guess there's like never a history book I didn't like, right? I have too many history books. We also got the Tuttle Twins. I don't know, I might have lost some at some point, but I bought these years ago. The original Tuttle Twins set. And Everett read them. He liked them. I have those. They're kind of like social studies related. Here's a bunch that came from a separate set. It was the same set as my historical documents book. It was, so these are like old, these are for older kids. Evaluating books. What would Thomas Jefferson think about this? They're Uncle Eric books. That no one's read these yet at our house. Ancient Rome, How It Affects You Today. So these are the kind of books I plan on using with my notebooks. Are you liberal, conservative, or confused? Whatever Happened to Justice? World War I and World War II. And the rest of the story and how it affects you today. So I think that's interesting. It's not like, not just what happened, but how are we still feeling the effects today? Clipper Ship Strategy for Success in Your Career, Business and Investments. 1,000-Year War in the Mideast, How It Affects You Today. I just feel like these are really compelling titles, personally. Uncle Eric talks about personal, career, and financial security. The Money Mystery, the hidden force affecting your career, business, and investments. And Whatever Happened to Penny Candy. We actually did. See, I started reading this one because it was one of the books, I think this notebook suggested that you read. I already owned it. I was like, perfect. So yeah, these can go together too. And of course I have a set of up here, where I just took down all my readers, of all my games for The Good and the Beautiful, but that's a set of Funk and Wagnall encyclopedias. And I took Art's advice. I tried to get, R.C. Art Robinson. I tried to get the oldest set I could find. So I think you want to get things, encyclopedias like are before the 60s, because they're less PC and they're just more factual. They're just more objective. And so I like to use those in our history when we look things up too, again, to like teach them to cross-reference and like, well, what were people saying back in let's look, hold on. And they're pretty too. Back in, and we actually used these a ton when we were doing a science unit on famous scientists, because you could look up all types of famous scientists or history in your encyclopedia, or their discoveries or their inventions is neat. Standard Reference Encyclopedia. That's what okay, this is the standard reference, 1959 to 1960. So just by the hair, just by the skin of our teeth did we get these in to the date cutoff for our recommendations. But I just found a set on eBay and they came there in great condition. I think people barely used their encyclopedias. Do you guys remember? I remember people still buying encyclopedia sets when I was a kid because there was no internet yet, and they were really expensive. Like, so my mom was telling me she remembers having her parents who were not wealthy people, but education was really important to them. They had 4 kids. They sent them to private Catholic school, and I don't know how they really had to sacrifice to send their kids there. But yeah, their mom, there was like a salesman would come to the door to sell encyclopedias, started buying them. I think like she couldn't buy the whole set, so it was buying them like a couple volumes at a time until they had a full encyclopedia set. Which is just like I thought it was a sweet story, and we just take for granted how much information we have at our fingertips now. Like, people sacrificed for these books at one point. And like, I remember we had a classroom set of encyclopedias, right? So if we were working on a report, like, we would have to take turns going to the, I remember it was in the back of the room and getting the encyclopedia book, and my teacher was always like, be really, really careful. Like, they were precious, you know, they were expensive. So for a classroom to have one was like an investment, and yeah, we could not take them home. You know, we had to be really careful with them. Anyway, so I do still use my encyclopedias. This one is actually off of the Robinson curriculum reading list, the Ulysses S. Grant, the personal memoirs. This is his actual memoirs. So something I've noticed from reading a lot of RC books with my kids is we live in a period of time where luckily there's a lot of books that have been printed. And just to hear people's voices from the past, like a couple hundred years ago, it feels so long ago, and they feel like, even 100 years ago, you feel like, were they a different species of human or something? But you hear the authors, you hear their writing, and it really does create a connection. At least for me, I just feel like, nope, they were just like us. Like, listen to them, like, just like us. Like, I'm still laughing at jokes somebody wrote, you know, 150 years ago. Like, look how much we still love Dickens, Shakespeare. Like, it's just, anyways, I just love how literature, like reading literature from the past, it's like they're still living with us, and it's like we're not different. I think that all the time when I read the Bible, because it's easy to think, you know, this is a couple thousand years ago, and like, what could I have in common? And you're like, oh my gosh, can you believe he did that? What a dork. Or like, you know, like, look how flawed these people are, or look how wise they are, and the thoughts that they share and their feelings and stuff. I'm just like, nope, just like us. Even though we're talking about Jewish people in another part of the world in a completely other time, but they're just like us. Our humanity just really comes through in writing. So I just love that it helps us and our kids not to judge the previous generation so harshly, like read their, like, you know, I don't want to dehumanize, you know, our ancestors or the human race, you know. I just really think that we just are really blessed to live in a time where we have so much access to books, and that they've become so cheap. Do you remember stories about Abraham? Was it Abraham Lincoln? They could not tell a lie. Remember, didn't he like accidentally ruin someone's book that he had borrowed? And it was like a really, really big deal, right? He had to pay it back or something. I don't know. He couldn't lie about it. But I remember my teacher, back when I was a kid, stressing how expensive books were. And like, not everybody had access to books. And so I guess I'm just like ruminating on just like how blessed we are, and how much we have to work with. That you don't have to buy an expensive curriculum. Like, I don't think you have to go buy The Good and the Beautiful. Like, I've liked it. And I feel like it's given me like kind of like a good model and a good flow. But once we're like done with it, I probably won't cycle back through. I know you can technically cycle through it over and over all the way through high school. But it was like good training wheels, you know. But now I feel like I have the confidence to just have make a notebook and pull together a reading plan and get a spine, and let my kids study on their own and not just hand them like a boxed product with all the answers. You know what I mean? Like, let them dig and own it for themselves. When they come to their own conclusions, or when they find out those facts through research themselves, they'll stick more. Anyways, okay, I have one last thing to show you. This is actually a timeline that came, I want to say, with the second The Good and the Beautiful history course, and it's like laminated, and it came in like multiple sheets, and I just like taped it up on my wall. But I thought it was neat that, so up here on the top it has like the dates, but you see like the different colors, like that there's like red and there's like blue, so those are different cultures but that existed at the same time. So I think that's neat how they have that layout. So like, see it in ancient, there's like a bunch of them. Anyways, I just thought that was a neat layout, and maybe something, you don't have to buy The Good and the Beautiful, like you could probably have your kids make something like this. I thought this was a neat idea. I thought I would show it to you. And actually up here, I'm gonna show you something else fun. So I was like, you know, I love my Epson color. I love printing in color. So I can print out artwork and stuff. I think I've showed you some things I've printed with my Epson printer before. Like I literally just print out artwork and put it in frames around my house. Like people don't know it's just something I printed off the internet on cardstock, because people don't get up close, really look at it, and I can change it out and it's like cheap. But do you see these frames? Have you guys seen these? Look. So they open, and these are just little like stretchy, like elastic, and you can just put different pictures in. And I put them over here so that I could print out things. If we were, right now we're in a science kind of like unit. I've said this before, I switch back and forth between history and science in our homeschool. But I bought, and it was super cheap. It was like, oh, normally only $5. It was like on sale 50% off, like $2.50. See all these prints I printed out? There is an Etsy shop called, I believe it's called Verily or Burley Homeschool. What I like in her shop is she must have been some kind of art major or an artist herself, because she has these like neat fine art units, and her prices are really good. And so I actually bought from her a fine art study on American art. And it did come with like some notebooking paper. I haven't started it yet. But just like whenever we get to American history, and I think she's a homeschooler too. I think she does, I'm pretty sure she's like a Charlotte Mason based homeschool. So, you know, they have Charlotte Mason. I feel like those people do so much extra like beauty things or whatever. I'm not totally sure. I'm not totally up on all of their methodology, but it came with that study. It came with all of these, like she's already curated all these pictures for you. And look how pretty they turned out on my Epson. They're just gorgeous. If you have an Epson, just make sure you like run the maintenance where you like clean the head and check your alignment. And so these pictures, these are actual American, I believe they're American artists, and they're depicting American scenes. Aren't they beautiful? So, and she says under here what it says, Penn's Treaty with the Indians by Edward Hicks, American. The Cornell Farm by Edward Hicks, American. So you're getting like history, like people were painting, you know, historical scenes, but you're also seeing the styles of artwork, and you can learn about the artists. That made me think of, remember that show Avonlea? It was like a Disney show. I love seeing how, I'm sure it's romanticized a little bit, but just seeing how they lived, and like they have the different characters, some were on farms and stuff, and seeing farm life, and like you're like, wow, people worked really hard. Anyways, I have some of them already up here, but I can change them out. Like if I want to have a focus on something, I can change out here what we're looking at as we're studying it. That's my plan. So I have everything printed out and ready to go in a file here when I'm ready to add that in to our studies. Well, I hope that was helpful or interesting or gave you some ideas. I obviously love history books. If you have a favorite history curriculum or readers or style or notebook, share it in the comments with us, and happy homeschooling.